Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. So here's the deal. I've only got time for recording one podcast today, and we really have to hit these voicemails. So we're going to do, there's not a lot of news. Going to do a quick update, critical information, and then we're going to jump into the calls because we got 31. Honestly, what I should be doing is this with calls plus Packernet After Dark just to get caught up, but maybe that'll be tomorrow if I have the time. Packers injury report. Kind of strange. A lot of conflicting, weird things from the Packers today. Jordan Love, I saw one person report that Jordan Love was limited, but it sounds like he was a full participant according to everybody else. Some of the wires crossed. Another weird one was Elgton Jenkins. He is now limited, which is great news because he hasn't been participating. He didn't participate yesterday. He had a knee injury. Kind of concerned about that, obviously. But he, for some reason, showed up on like the DNP and the LP. Did not participate, limited participant. But the official injury report has him limited. So here is the injury report. Jair is now practicing, limited participant. That's great news. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but he's at least practicing. So, hoping that continues. Kenny Clark did not practice on Wednesday with a toe injury. He did practice today. Let's see. Jonathan Ford continues to be limited. Elgton Jenkins I already mentioned. Jordan Love I mentioned. Jordan Morgan is still limited, so he's moving in the right direction. I don't know if he plays either way because I feel like we kind of got a thing going, but still I'm glad that we have the option. Musgrave with his ankle injury continues to be injured, which is unfortunate because, again, I still believe there's something there for Luke, especially with Jordan coming back, just like I've been saying with Christian. I mean, Christian's been doing a good job, but there's a bigger, more expanded role for him, at least situationally, depending on the opponent and whatnot. And we just have not had an opportunity to kind of showcase that. It doesn't mean he's going to be an elite football player. I'm just saying a lot of people are upset because the production isn't there, and I'm saying that the production will come if we can just get the right situation finally. But now that we're getting that situation, he is injured with an ankle injury. So it's just a constant disaster between Luke Musgrave and Christian Watson, and I'm not blaming the players. It's a very unfortunate set of circumstances. Carrington Valentine still limited. Christian Watson and Devontae Wyatt, not surprisingly, still have not participated. On the more negative side, Romeo Doubs was out for personal reasons. I don't know the situation, and actually I'll look into that. At the time I didn't know. I'll see if there's any updates, but there usually is not. And then some more bad news. Edgerrin Cooper was limited on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. He's not a major part of our defense, but similarly to a lot of these guys with Jordan Morgan and Luke Musgrave and a lot of young guys that you just want to get some reps. You know, even Watson, it's like, dude, it's been, 3 years of you being hurt all the time. This was supposed to be the year, and then, again, you get crushed and twisted and everything else. Wyatt, another guy, young, talented, feel like something's about to happen. Morgan. But it is what it is. You adapt, you move on, and we'll continue to see how it's going. For the Rams, Cooper Kupp did not participate. Laurel Murchison, defensive tackle, did not participate. Darius Williams, full participant. Marcus Robinson, full participant. We'll go over the Rams. We kind of covered the situation that they're in, which is not a great situation with all the injuries and whatnot. We'll go over that again when we cover the Rams, probably tomorrow. I don't know. But not today. We're not doing that today. Very quickly going through some of the press conference stuff. The pass rush did come up. It came up quite a bit for these guys. Matt LaFleur made some excuses. And again, it's not necessarily wrong that there were reasons for things happening, but that doesn't completely explain the problem, boy. So, for example, he said sometimes games are focused on containing the quarterback. That's true, and I pointed that out when that was the case. Who did we play last week? Oh, Sam Darnold. Okay, so that doesn't apply to that game, right? Okay, so that's an excuse that is not applicable. He said the teams face challenges with opponents using chip blocks and play action fakes to create double teams against pass rushers. That's nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense to use that as a way to explain things away. Do those things happen sometimes? Yes, for every single team in the entire NFL. Also, as I pointed out, it's impossible for these things to happen to everyone. In other words, if somebody's being chipped, everybody else isn't. Why is everybody failing? And beyond that, again, we looked exclusively at situations where those things do not apply. Play action passes are removed. Chip blocks are removed. Double teams are removed. And your players are not even anywhere near 10% as a win rate. So I understand maybe just not wanting to talk about it or act like it's a big deal or whatever his whole thing is, but it's annoying to come up with excuses that are just not true. So I hope, despite what he's saying to the media, these are not the things that are being said in the meeting rooms. In other words, I have to assume they're not in there going, I think things are fine. You guys are doing a good job. Keep it up. You know, you get chipped once in a while. Blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. He mentioned Quay Walker's improving, which I guess you could say that. He did have a better game this past week. In my mind, improving is, a gradual thing over time. This is like bad, not bad, which, is great because it's better than the other games. I don't know that I see that as like improvement so much as an anomaly. But if that continues, in other words, we need more into the future. We need more games at this level of play or better in order for me, anyways, to start calling it improvement as opposed to an anomaly. Rich Bisaccia came out, talked about the kicking situation, said that the issue seems to be with the plant foot, which, like a lot of things, there's talk about Wicks and the fact that it's like, well, he said that the issue was that he wasn't looking the ball into his hands. I swear I'm not trying to be just negative about everything. I just don't. I just don't want to completely explain everything away. Like, oh, Wicks just wasn't looking the ball into his hands, and now he knows that, and so now he's going to do that, and everything's fine. Bro, watch the ball into your hands is something you learn when you're 5 years old playing with your dad. I mean, this isn't like some big revelation that he didn't know. I don't know. I just, same with like the plant leg thing. It's just like, well, no, everything was wrong, and then the press conference happens, and it's like, oh, no, we figured it out. We fixed everything. Okay, great. Look forward to that. Did have a good week of practice, apparently. Our kicker did, so that's good. Mentioned that it's at SoFi Stadium, which has favorable kicking conditions, so that should be hopefully a little bit of a boost. Adam Stenavich mentioned Jordan Morgan is not currently working multiple positions on the offensive line, as he's focused on getting back to playing, so trying to simplify things, apparently. Mentioned Zach Tom has shown improvement, especially in the run game. We've definitely noticed that. Said Sean Ryan has played his best game recently, showing improvement in his pad level, physicality, and pass protection. I mean, I will say, I don't feel a sense of abject panic with him out there, which is great. And I think it's also going to further stunt Jordan Morgan because, why rush Jordan Morgan into it? Allow him to practice, allow him to develop on the sideline, et cetera, rather than rush him into a game. And I generally don't have a problem with that as long as Sean Ryan doesn't have one of his stinker of a games, which he's tends to have. Like I said, with Sean Ryan, the whole thing is really good and really bad, as opposed to just kind of floating around in the middle between kind of good and kind of bad. Talk about Jaden Reed, energetic and intense on the field, contrasting his low-key demeanor off the field. His success as a deep threat is attributed to his elite speed, route running ability, and strong hands. The speed thing is really interesting because, remember, he didn't test super great, but the Packers had different numbers on him. Not that it was bad, but it was just they saw him as being a lot faster than what we generally reported based on what the numbers said. Not a lot of general obvious things. Josh Jacobs didn't touch it because we were down by like 30, so that's pretty straightforward. And then finally, Jeff Hafley came to the mic, talked about they're discussing strategies for getting Rashawn Gary more opportunities, including moving him around, countering defensive schemes, I'm guessing offensive schemes. He praised Kenny Clark, said he's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the game. All right, yeah, maybe he's great. I don't know. At what is what I don't know. It's something that stats can't pick up, I guess, is all, or grades for that matter. People watching the tape just don't recognize greatness when they see it, I guess. He acknowledged the Rashawn Gary problem and took personal responsibility for it, which, I mean, I think is fair, but again, we're still not really addressing the full issue. I mean, I acknowledge that it's a Hafley issue, at least to some degree. And the only reason I'm saying that, and I'm not trying to just get Rashawn off the hook, is because, as I said, everybody is not only down, which every single person on that defensive line, their stats are down, but drastically from like they're pretty good to they are horrifically bad. Potential fraud. No, thank you. I'd rather not answer a potentially fraudulent call, but thank you so much for your patronage. But again, I'm willing to be patient with it. I mean, Hafley's still trying to feel this out. There was that period Matt LaFleur went through. First of all, when he came to Green Bay, but then second of all, when Jordan Love took over, where you got Love, who's new, but also you got some receivers who are new, some that are new this year, some that are new last year, and just trying to figure out how do we put all the pieces together. And obviously a lot of things are working, but as I said, some of the things that are working are not generally things that are replicatable through long periods of time. And so you need to, in this period of time while you're getting it, start building that foundation. I don't know the answers, obviously, but he needs to be able to look at it and say, okay, here's what you're good at. Here's what I'm asking you to do, and it's not working. What the heck? I got to start asking you to do something else. That's obviously a layman's way of explaining it, but hopefully they'll figure that out. I mean, and I understand there's probably a lot of people listening thinking, I don't even know what the heck you're talking about. Just 2 games ago, we had like 8 sacks in the game. And again, it's not even necessarily that they're having problems generating pressures and sacks and everything. I think the last game there was. It's that the individual guys up front are having a hard time. Now, we saw 2 games ago, I think it was the Titans, that feeding frenzy that took place. That was awesome. And Hafley just had them figured out. The way he had that line moving and the guys blitzing and all this stuff, people coming from crazy places. The problem seems to be that when they're not being creative, when they're not sending guys in different directions and blitzing linebackers or corners or safeties or whatever, they're not successful. And on some level, you're going to need that because you can't just blitz every single time. In fact, Hafley doesn't like to blitz very much at all. Now, maybe with Jaire back, we'll start to see a little bit more of that because you trust, without having extra guys in coverage, you trust, Jaire will lock that guy down. We can send some more help over to this side and then send a linebacker or something, But anyways, that's what he has to figure out. Also talked about Quay Walker's improvement, which comes with increased comfort and understanding in the defense, which all these guys have to go through with that. One of the excuses I did not like when people defended Quay, because it, in my opinion, just didn't really hold a lot of water. First of all, everybody has to learn the scheme. Why do only the players who are bad get the excuse while players who are doing well, what? They're what? Like, what? Why is anybody good? I don't understand. But beyond that, it's the fact that I'm not really judging Quay based on 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, whatever. It's the fact that he's continuing what he kind of always has been. Is there still hope? Of course there is. Some guys don't figure it out until year 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, weird stuff happens. But as I've said many times, it's just a matter of confidence begins to wane over time. But it's a new scheme. And Quay is going to be asked to do some different stuff, and we'll see if he can do it. If he can, great. If he can't, then we'll be moving along, I guess. But in the meantime, we got a Super Bowl to win. And then he praised Keyshawn Nixon. I don't really want to talk about that because that guy gave up 2 touchdowns, and I have no interest in listening to praise of a guy that was a massive liability in the last game. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and we will get to some calls.
Well, that was a rough one.
Yeah.
Monday morning, I was not in the mood to call yesterday. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot to glean from that other than defensively, I guess we're still learning the new scheme, right?
That's about it. Is that a cow?
I mean, what can you say? I mean, Wicks started off dropping everything, and then he caught some stuff.
Nico.
So it's like,
What is that
all I
sound?
can say, this is the kind of game you compartmentalize, you shove in a box, and then you throw the box in the fireplace, you burn it, and you move on. Now, I'm not a coach. I don't work for the Packers staff. They gotta deal with this crap for all week and learn what they did wrong and try to unlearn that. So, or fix that. As a fan, you just got to be like, you know what? Games like this happen. I mean, at least they came out and lit it up in the second half. I mean, if we make some field goals, we might win. If we don't, I mean, even the interceptions were just like crazy interceptions. The double tip one to Dobbs and Muskrat. The other one where the guy just dove right. I mean, it's just one of those crazy, like once in a million. I don't know. It's just, but you know what? We put up a fight, and I wish this game had been in Minnesota, because then I wouldn't care so much that we lost. And then you can always think, let's beat them when we come home. But now we're just going to have to beat them in Minnesota. I still think they're playing. I mean, at what point do we say that Minnesota's an actual good team? I don't know. It is kind of like, I still believe they're just playing so far above their means that they got to come down to reality sometime. But, I mean, if it's week 10 and they're like 9-2, maybe they are who they are. Maybe they are who they thought we were. Or didn't think they were. I don't know. Anyways, I got to stay away from clips and explodable items because, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not that way anymore. I was like that when I was younger. I'd get so mad I couldn't talk for days.
You guys heard that, right?
I'll never go to Wisconsin on a loss. Like on Monday morning, no one would wave to you. You go into a gas station, get coffee, and everyone's like, ugh. So it can't be like that. But go back, go. It's a tough one. I think maybe Jordan even needed this to kind of look like crap for a half, and then kind of get used to playing again. So who knows? The whole team needs to get better. Go back up.
Yeah, more or less, man. I mean, they're not the finished product. Go figure. Early in the season, most teams are not. And as I've said, I do think, and listen, as far as Minnesota, are they a good team? Yeah. They're undefeated and they're better than everybody else. So they're a good team. Now, again, I've expressed some skepticism long term. Again, I think the Packers are not their finished form. A lot of teams are not. Maybe Minnesota's not. Maybe they're going to continue to get better. I am of the opinion, and I've explained why, not just a random opinion, that Minnesota kind of came out of the gate as a finished product. In other words, they were ready. If you put them in the playoffs, they probably win the Super Bowl. But it's less to do with them, and even that's kind of unfair. I mean, there's something to be said about being a high-quality team that executes at a high level. Even late in the season, teams aren't necessarily doing that. Playoff teams, Packers know that as well as anybody. The lack of consistency, and to be, sort of a playoff caliber team and consistently do that week to week. I mean, it's such a credit to their coaching staff. My only question again is, okay, so what happens as we move a little bit later on and teams start to figure it out? I mean, I think the Chiefs are playing like crap. Their record doesn't say so, but I think they are. What's going to happen when they start playing really, really well? They're going to be the Chiefs of old. Their record's going to continue dominating, and they're just going to smack the crap out of everybody. And, so just using that as an example, Minnesota beats Kansas City, I believe, in the first, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks. In week 15, 16, 17, do I think that's the case? I don't. But anyways, they have nothing really to be upset about, and they can call me a hater, and they might as well. I was wrong about Darnold, at least to some degree. I was wrong about the team. I was wrong about everything, so why listen to me, right? I'm just trying to figure things out as we go, man. What else are we talking about? Yeah, burn it, move on. It's early. It's very early. We're 2-2. It could be a heck of a lot worse. I feel like many times over the last 5, 6, 7 years, we've looked early in the season and just thought, holy crap, we're in trouble. And almost never have we actually been in trouble by the time it was all said and done. I wish it wasn't this way. I wish we could just start off swinging and end the season just dominating. But we haven't been there. And a lot of good stuff has happened. Malik was a great thing. I thought that, was it Tennessee? I think the Tennessee game was one of the cleanest, still plenty of penalties, but one of the cleanest and best games from this team offensively and defensively to just execute. So we know they can do it. We know that a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is not just an anomaly, as though the Packers are so much better than that, but everybody's better than that. The penalties are out of control, and it's basic, stupid stuff. Can't line up right. Can't get the snap count right. Ineligible downfield. Granted, some of that's complicated when you're trying to run screens and there's a pressure and you're trying to get the ball out, but you can't. And the guy doesn't know what's going on, so he's timing and counting in his head, 1 1,000, 2 1,000. He takes off running, ball's not out, whatever. Some of these things take time, man. That's all there is to it. So the bottom line is, for me anyways, when you look at teams and you say which ones have the most room to go up, which ones have seemingly the most room to go down, Packers are one of the ones that are going to be going up the most. Yeah, you can. You're not swallowing it, are you? Okay, good. You can have some gum then. Yeah, man, I'm with you. We gotta hurry. I'm sorry. I'm rambling too much. Nico, what's going on again?
So, kind of funny. You know how Bears fans have been acting the last 3 weeks? Like they have no care to live anymore. What's my coach doing? Our organization sucks. Caleb's a bust. One win, and they're already like, we're back.
Oh, yeah.
But little bit of time I spent online
now.
yesterday after the game, I'm like, really? It just takes one win for you to forget that your organization sucks donkey balls? That's all it takes is one win.
Yep.
I haven't watched the game. I obviously won't. I might watch the highlights.
I probably
like
should.
A 10-minute condensed version just to see. I don't know if the Rams played like crap or if the defense won and the defense won the Bears game. But just one game and they're like, we're back. So it's funny. I guess they can't help themselves. They are what they are. They're Bears fans. Even though they might have sounded like normal humans last week. One win and they are just, man, they're all in. MVP, Super Bowl, maybe not quite that much, but you get what I'm saying. So, and to further what I said this morning, it's just, this crap happens, I know there's some people that are just so done. And I think maybe we should get a new kicker. That was kind of bad. Who knows how the game would have went if we would have made some kicks? It's very possible we could have won.
Yep.
But at least let's make these mistakes this time of the year and not at week 17. So let's get some crap done. Let's bring in some veteran kickers. Obviously, we have the ability to play like absolute dog crap and still almost beat a good team. But we've done it. We did it with the Niners last year. We did it with the Phillies game one. We did it yesterday. We played we should have lost by 100 points. But so the team has some grit. The team's got a lot of potential. We just need to clean up. I don't know. Maybe don't. I don't know if the fouls are just because they suck or the refs are just calling everything. Like there was a call there was a few calls. I'm like, it wasn't even close to the play. Like, why? Yeah, he sort of grabbed the receiver on the other end of the end zone, but the ball was already past the other receiver.
And I acknowledge that that's not how that works. It's not like, well, it didn't impact the play, so we're not going to. I wish they would implement that. You know what I mean? And maybe it's hard to do because if you didn't grab that guy, maybe you would have thrown over that way. I don't know, man. There are certain things that I wish they could just look at it and look the other way and go, shouldn't have done that, but it didn't impact the play. I'm not going to take a 10-yard run and turn it into a 10-yard loss on a penalty and just completely screw this game. But I'll go up and talk to him and be like, bro, I watched you do that. I'm not calling it this time because it was on the opposite side of the play, which makes it even dumber. I probably should throw a flag because you're so stupid. But if you do that again, even a little bit, because I'm going to be watching you now, you're done. So don't freaking do that again. You know what I mean? Like just a little discretion. Just think stuff through a little bit.
Didn't catch it. It's like, do they need to just ruin a game because some play that didn't matter? I don't know. I've long given up trying to think what the refs want. I think what they should do is they should put the refs on TV ever. Even when they're calling a play, just you can hear their sound.
Just keep it all in the booth.
No TV time.
Yep, I
They
agree.
have no desire to want to be like, see me calling all those plays against Packers. So maybe that should do that. But anyways, this following season, I still feel like we'll end up on top because the cream always rises to the top.
I think we should at least try it. We're trying stuff now, right? Just see what happens when we take them off the field. Maybe they just stop calling penalties so much. I don't know. Just a thought. One quick thing about the Bears. I understand being happy because you won a game against a team that's not good, which I say that now, knowing that we're going to play them. And if we lose, that's going to hurt. But I get it. Like your quarterback played a game that was not terrible for the first time ever. He's still one of the lowest graded in the entire NFL, and the metrics all back that up. But anyways, whatever. He had a mediocre game. Let me just ask you, though, because you mentioned, Nico, they're all in. Like, we're going to win now. We're going to do all these things. And you're right. They are saying that. Here's a question for Bears fans. Do you have a good offensive line? Because if you do, why have you been saying for years now, but especially this year, that it's not good? And then if you're saying, no, we still don't, then what are you so happy about? Next question. Do you have a good offensive coordinator? Do you have a good head coach? Do you have a good GM? Do you have a good running back in DeAndre Swift, the guy that you've been trashing this whole time? Because if you don't have an offensive line or a play caller or a running back or a head coach or a GM that's competent, I don't know why you're confident in things. I don't know. Just asking, just curious. Anyways, Uncle Rico, what's up?
Yo, Ryan, it's your uncle, Rico.
Hey.
The Packer fan.
What's up?
Well, I won fantasy, but the Packers lost, and that's not cool. I wasn't real upset. I mean, I was, but then by the end of the game, you can see that we have the ability to win, and we're going to win. Just, we need to, maybe keep it down to 15 mistakes a game instead of 25 type of thing. I don't know about the kicker. We'll have to figure that out. I can't judge why he's missing these kicks. Is it him? Is it the hold? Something ain't right. Is there anybody out there that's better? I don't, there's 32 teams in the NFL, and there's not even 32 good kickers, I don't think. So there's probably nobody else. But there's got to be somebody. I guess, I don't know. Anyways, and the thing that I was, I think, most frustrated about during the game was Wicks. Dude, if you're going to get open and put your hands on the ball, you got to catch it.
Yeah.
Hit the judge machine,
good rule.
Day and night. Skip sleep, skip practice, skip everything. You don't need to know anything else except for...
it sounds simplistic. That's what Romeo did, right? Romeo was kind of struggling a little bit with that, and he just hit the jugs machine over and over and over and over. And I'm not saying his hands are great. He's still having some issues once in a while, but that dude attacks footballs, and I feel confident in Romeo Doubs when you throw to him. Just work on it.
How to catch the ball. You can do all the other things. Catch the ball, dude. Okay, we're giving you a one-game break. From now on, you got to catch the ball. Because if you're going to be out there and get open, you're going to get the ball thrown to you. And if you're going to get the ball thrown to you, you got to catch it, or we might as well just throw it to someone else. And I think the other thing that I was upset about was the desperation passes, kind of, sort of. I mean, why are we putting the ball in the air?
Yeah.
When there's a 75% chance that somebody else is going to come down with it, type of thing. There's that, and then LaFleur. Why did we go complete? I guess we got behind, so that's probably why we went completely away from our game plan. I mean, we ran the ball a record amount of times last week, and this week we're running the ball not a record. I mean, kind of stick to the formula, maybe, but I get it. We got behind, so we had to put it in the air. Either way, the main thing is I think that there's light. You could definitely see the ability, so it's going to happen. It's the last game we lose. I'm changing my prediction. I started out at 17-0, and then I went to 16-1. I'm down to 15-2. 15-2. Okay. Whoops. Sorry about that. Let's pick it up, boys. Let's do it. Go Pack, go.
if he wouldn't have gone back and said, whoops, I would have just passed it off and been like, he said he kicked a duck or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, what you're describing sounds to me a lot like, I mean, there's a couple things, getting behind destroys your game plan. Not super easy, I'm guessing, playing football when you have to, in a matter of minutes, take your whole game plan, throw it in the garbage. But yeah, a lot of what you're describing is what we were just talking about, which is a team that is not in the flow yet. You know what I mean? You got to get in the flow. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and we got some Kyle from Madison and snacks, and there's a lot of those. So that's what we're doing. Take a break. We'll be right back.
Ryan, what's up? Kyle from Madison. It is, what do we call it? Defeat Monday? Loss Monday? I don't know. I hate these days, whatever it's called. All right, so I want to give you 2 calls. One, I'm going to stick with pessimistic things.
Sure.
And then I'm going to call back with some things for optimism. I'm going to separate these two and get your thoughts on it.
Fair enough.
So we're going to start with pessimism. These things aren't all necessarily what I believe, but these are some things that I'm hearing talked about. And certainly, I think all the things I'm going to mention are very much in play for discussion. Like, so sorry if anybody gets triggered, but I think this is all very, I think it's fair game to talk about. I'm also not saying this is etched in stone or fait accompli, but I think we should talk about it after yesterday's performance, okay?
Okay.
First of all, I believe we still have the highest paid special teams coach, and I don't know what in the hell for. What in the hell for? We've got a talented punter. I don't think Bisaccio has got a damn.
I will say, I thought about this a little bit because we're always at the bottom of the list. They're like 28th in special teams. Like, what the heck? I don't think there's anything wrong with the special teams aside from the fact that we picked the wrong kicker. What else is not working? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else is great other than the punter, but the punter's great. I don't really see any other problems. There's no returns because they kick it out of the end zone because they're scared of Keyshawn, so that's not a problem. I don't think they've had any problem covering because, again, they just kick it out of the end zone. So kicks are not really a problem. Kick returns are not a problem. Punting has been great. Punt returns haven't been bad. The only thing that sucks is field goals. And I sympathize with Bisaccia, although I think Anders was the one kind of pulling the lever on that a little bit, and he got Anders. And I think Goot was like, okay, I gave you your freaking Anders, and it's not working. Screw you. I'm picking my own guy. And now Rich Bisaccia is stuck with this guy. He doesn't know a freaking thing. I mean, I'm exaggerating. Obviously, he must have had some input in it and looked at him or whatever. But he's being saddled with this guy last minute and has to try to figure some stuff out, and he's not figuring it out. And we could blame him for that, but I don't know. Did he break him, or is he just not a good kicker? I don't know. I have some sympathies for Bisaccia right now, and I know what you're about to say, and it does go both ways. I don't know that I give him credit because what is working, we finally found a good punter. Would he just be terrible on every other team? I kind of doubt it, but I don't know.
Thing to do with that. I don't know what's going on there, but you can't. What is he doing? I don't even know why we're paying this guy. Okay. I think on the defense, I mean, let's start talking. I hate using the word bust, but I'm going to use it. Okay, this is a pessimistic call.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, do it. Get it all
Can
out.
we say that Gutekunst can't draft on D, at least in the first 2 rounds? I don't know. But when we look at Stokes, you could say he's a bust.
I like Jair and Wyatt, okay? So let's be careful.
Wyatt, he's okay.
Yeah, hey. Now, let's not be crazy.
Quay, he's a bust. Probably should have been a 3rd rounder.
Probably.
Right? Van Ness, I don't know. We'll see. Not progressing great.
No.
Alexander, look, he's been awesome. The problem is he's never available in our biggest games.
Stop it.
He's out all the time for playoff games, for big games. He played in the Dallas game for a quarter or whatever last year, but we can't get the guy in the field. And then one of the most concerning things is probably the fact that your 2 veterans guys that you paid have just disappeared. I cannot for the life of me reconcile the disappearance of Rashawn Gary.
But I can't put that on Gutekunst. He drafted a great player who is just not performing now. And it's this he did last year. It's not like he's never been good or it was just 1 year. He's been, in my opinion, Rashawn has been a weapon for this team every time he stepped on the field. There was a little bit of an issue at the end of last year where it's like after he got paid, like what the heck happened? This is the first time where it's like, you suck. So again, it's a problem, but Hafley took it on himself, and I think he was right to do so. I can't say that Gutekunst messed that up.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy to take the money and run. Yet, after the money, no results at all. Clark completely disappeared after being paid.
True. Gutekunst didn't draft him, though.
Completely. Okay. I look on the field, I don't really see there's no more increased cornerback depth. I look out, I still see, this is just like last year. Here's Keyshawn basically starting. Otherwise, it's Ballantyne and I don't even know, and Stokes. So
Valentine.
There's a lot there to be pessimistic about. I want to get your thoughts on it, and I'll call back with
I think a lot of that is true. I think, as I've noticed with your calls, there might be some things that are being left out. You didn't mention Valentine, 7th-round pick. I think he's a very good player, especially for a 7th-round pick. You didn't mention Bullard, who I think has been a great asset to this team. Edgerrin Cooper seems to be at least exciting. We'll see how that goes. We haven't seen Tyron Hopper much, but in the little bit that we did, obviously he's being edged out right now, but he seemed actually really impressive when we saw him. Same goes for the names of this draft class. I don't know if it's just my brain melted after that year or if it's names that are just, I think it's because they have like normal names and it's messing with me. Evan Williams, is that his name? You know what I mean? Like Evan Williams. You can't be Evan Williams, dude. It's too generic. I can't operate with that. Jordan Morgan. I can't do it. It's got to be like Kitano Ladapo. Like, I'm not going to forget that. Jair Alexander. I can deal with Alexander as long as it's Jair. Marshawn Lloyd. It's just too generic, dude. I can't do it. Anyways, I do think this team is destined to only ever be very good on offense and not as good on defense. They're just randomly picking 4th, 5th round guys out. It's like, oh yeah, he's good at football. Like, oh great on offense. And defense, it's like, man, if we get a 1st rounder that is just like a decent contributor, that's a win. But again, I think again you could look at Kingsley Enagbare. Is he a superstar? Obviously, he's terrible now. Is he a superstar? No, but compared to his 5th round value, he's been incredible. You could look at Brooks and Wooden. Again, not seeing it right now, but these are talented football players that were mid-round picks. So, yeah, I mean, if we just highlight all the negatives, which is what a lot of, not trying to put you in this necessarily, I look forward to your positive call, but a lot of the very negative fans, they only look at the negative and then they kind of expand that out to be the entirety of all knowledge, right? I'm just going to list off all the misses and then say, therefore, Goot sucks. It's like, well, that's not the right way to do that. But yeah, it's disappointing. It is when you got, I don't know, 1st round picks you expect more from. Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. Especially late 1st round picks like, most of the guys that we have, Wyatt and Quay and Jordan Morgan, even though for whatever reason we actually do a better job in the actual 2nd round than the sort of late 1st, which is sort of the 2nd round. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. But positive call. Let's go, Kyle.
All right, part 2. This is my optimistic.
Let's do it.
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Man, that would be... No, there is a lot to be optimistic about. And I'm actually reconsidering my position from yesterday as I've cooled off a little bit. I mean, I still just think it was stupid to play Love without practicing. Clearly, the first half at least, he's trying to figure out how to throw on that leg. I mean, it's obvious they're all the balls are submarining, right? Yeah. All saw it. But he did settle into it. But still, there's no substitute for lack of practice. Like, you could just tell, like, some of those picks, whatever, like Musgrave, I swear to God, he did that last year, I can't remember what game, but I remember him doing that exact same play where he just jumps 15 feet in the air and tips it to the center.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously Love's going to be rusty, but I will say this. You know, if they can clean up a bunch of stuff, it's basically just penalties. Just clean up the penalties.
It's real bad.
And find somebody who can kick somewhat more competently. And I do think the fact that Love was able to get the rust off, and the fact that that team, I mean, they were a major pain in the ass for the Vikings. You know, like it's looking like coasting time for the Vikings. And the Packers were just really not going to just go quietly into the night. And
By the way, I don't know why this is the first time I've looked this up, but I decided to look it up. 4th most penalized team in football. Houston, Baltimore, Miami, and then Packers and Cleveland are tied for 4th most. So there you go. I'll continue looking as you talk.
I did really like that. I mean, when they let Jefferson get that first, you knew that was probably it. But I love that they fought back. I love that I don't know, man. That was a gutsy performance, you know, all in all things considered. And what I would say, instead of citing individual performances, is this. At the end of this game, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If it was, like, if we had to line up against the Vikings at Lambeau next Sunday, right away again, I actually really like the Packers in that matchup. Like, after everything that's transpired, after the growing pains that were, I mean, whether he practices or not, there was going to be growing pains getting him back into the offense. Love, that is. So, I mean, okay, you get the rust off. But I like where we are now. You get some practice under our belt. Hopefully we get good news on some of the injuries. But, like, okay, if that's supposedly the best in the NFC, as Viking fans are telling me, I'm down with that. Because I like lining up right now. So this week, you line us up again, I like our chances with a little bit of practice. So if that's the bar, then there is a lot of room for optimism, because the Packers are just shooting themselves in the face repeatedly. You know, one of the biggest defensive plays of the game is the freaking Tucker Kraft hold on a Wilson run, you know, that just screws everything up. So there is room for optimism, my man.
Yeah, it was rough.
All right.
Yeah, and you're right. Penalties are one of the biggest ones. So I was just going through some of this again. Green Bay, 4th most as far as penalties against. Yards against, they're, I don't know, 6th-ish or something. But then if you look at beneficiary count, which is how many your opponent has been called against, it is the 2nd least. So the Packers have been called, had 34 penalties. Our opponents have had 19. So that is a 15, is the 3rd worst net penalty count. Baltimore 20, Houston 16, Green Bay 15. We're at a negative 15 penalty count, and the net yardage is 117. The Packers have lost 264 yards to penalties compared to 147. So that is a net loss of 117 yards through 15 penalties over 4 weeks. That's 4 more penalties and however many yards. Well, it's, 40 yards or so per game. It's an absolute killer. If you just look at total flags thrown, so if you, so obviously there's some that are offsetting penalties. Some penalties end up being declined. In other words, you still did it, but they declined it. 42 times the Packers have been flagged for penalties. That's 42 times they've made mistakes. That's 2nd most. So they've just been fortunate in terms of 6 have been declined, which is not good either, because, well, why would they have so many declined? Because they had a really good play on that play where you cheated, and so they're like, nah, it's fine. Don't care. We had a 20-yard gain. I don't care. And then 2 plays were offsetting. Green Bay has been called the 2nd most for offensive holding. Dallas and Seattle have 11, Green Bay 10. We've lost 100 yards on holding. I don't know if you knew this. That's a football field. Anyways, I'm not gonna. We got to keep going with the calls here, so I'm not gonna keep going with that. But you get the idea. It's brutal. But again, as far as cleaning things up goes, that's an area where the Packers could make some huge strides. On the other side, by the way, one of the biggest beneficiaries of penalties, having them go your way, the Chicago Bears. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
Hey!
Yo.
I'm not kidding you, man. I literally, after the 28 points, I walked out of my house, went to the golf course, started playing, and mind you, we're in Nashville where it's been raining pretty much for the last 3 days, given the hurricane,
Sure.
whatever. And so it was miserable. I couldn't get in a golf cart. I had to walk. And I know there's some golf purists that like to walk, but I don't have time for it. So anyway, I did that. I was trying to walk off some steam, some energy, and then I'd switched to the radio broadcast, listening to Wayne and Larry. And sure enough, they started making the comeback. And once it got to 2022, I was busting up the fairways like you've never seen, trying to get into my car to get home to watch. And then I do just to have them do that. But where I'm going with this is,
It's your fault.
let's call it, I'm not a coach by any stretch, and none of my opinions should matter to anybody. So let's just call this JV coach Snacks opinions that now having a day to kind of digest. Jordan was not great, but he got a shoot ton better. I said shoot late. And I do think the injury had something to do with it. But what I want to say is, and you've talked about this, is the Brett Favre tendencies versus the Rodgers tendencies. He really is willing to kind of give it a shot, isn't he?
Yeah. For sure.
I do think that there's got to be a little bit more kind of leaning towards, all right, like the old Holmgren quote, enough with the rocket balls. I mean, he doesn't do the rocket balls like Favre did, but he is a little more willing to kind of throw something in there to see if it works out. So that probably needs to be tightened up a little bit. And I do want to hate on our defense a little bit early, but I also think the defense got put in some really crummy spots by our lack of making field goals, taking care of the ball. So I don't want to be too hard on them, but I do want to be really hard on our pass rush. Can we get home if we don't blitz? Like, can we just get home if there's just 4 people on the line? That is a really strange thing to me, because we paid Gary, and I love Rashawn Gary, man. I really do. And I'm not trying to hate on him, because I really like him a lot. But we need those guys to get a lot more pressure without having to design.
Part 2.
Sorry, I know hitting the 3-minute mark is a no-no.
you're good.
So I'll try to sum it up. Pass rush needs to be better. I don't know if it does get better. And without Jair on the back end, that's putting a lot of pressure on guys that aren't as good as we thought they were. I'm still trying my best to believe in Stokes, but I'm kind of with you, man. I don't know. I really like Georgia defensive players, and but something's not there. Valentine clearly is not an A squad corner.
And I think, I want to be fair to everybody and give them their amount of time before you jump on the bandwagon, because if for nothing else, even if you want to be pessimistic about it, you don't want to be the guy that writes somebody off and then they blow up and it's like, you're the example of what not to be in a fan and, whatever. But at the same time, it usually, again, everybody has their own career arc. Usually you can see talent when it's there. You can just see it. You look at the top corners of what, Sauce Gardner. How long did it take for us to recognize Sauce was a good corner? Not very long. So, I don't know. Maybe it's there, maybe it'll happen. But, again, my whole thing was year 1, decent for a rookie, and if he can take that year 2 leap, that's going to be great. Then he gets hurt. We didn't see anything. Everybody hated him. I'm like, well, let's let him play and see if he's any good. Still too early to 100% make any definitive things or whatever, but you watch certain plays where guys make pretty basic cuts and he's just falling down, and it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe he'll be okay. That's freaking rough.
So that's it. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I actually thought our line played pretty well. Our O-line played pretty well. I like that, Sweet Baby Nixon came up with some plays when he had to, because obviously Jair was down. We need kind of our players that are getting paid a little bit more to play. And that's not a Jair bust. But if Jair does, goes on another 3-4 game stretch here where he doesn't play, and we've got to do what we did 2 years ago or last year or whatever, I'm not going to be able to deal with that. So, that's it. JV Coach Snacks out.
That was very well said, Mr. Snacks. And I'm with you. It's early, and we do this every year. Things get bad, and it's like everybody sucks, and Jordan sucks, and this guy sucks, and then things get turned around by week 9, hopefully, in this case, way earlier. And guys are playing well, and it's like a longer, more drawn-out version of when I did the live stream of the Titans game, and I was saying that Preston is not good, and he's got to step it up, and then he just starts tearing everybody apart, and it's like, okay, never mind, Preston's pretty good. And then next week, it's like, actually, no, he sucks, and everybody sucks. It's like, I don't know, man. We'll see. Would anybody be stunned if Rashawn Gary had a decent game and made us all sound stupid? Not really. I wouldn't be. Not that I expect everything to be fixed, but there's going to be opportunities for the positive fans to come in and start throwing receipts in your face. At least I hope. If they have a good game, that's because players played well. It's easy to complain and look at all the problems when you lose a game. Hopefully we don't have to do that. Hopefully there'll be less introspection next week and more just gloating and celebrating because our rivals lost and the Packers won, and we can just move on with our lives. But I do have to pack it in here. Did a little bit of damage, not as much as I'd hoped, but we're gonna keep swinging away at this thing so we can try to get as many of these calls done as possible. But I got to get out of here. You have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.